I'll go ahead and call us to order, and before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm may sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles. With that said, you have minutes were distributed before the meeting. Any additions or correction to last month's meeting? I've got a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. There's no public hearings. Anybody have any public input on items on the agenda tonight that wants to speak before we jump into the agenda? If there is none, then we will continue on into the agenda. We have election of officers tonight. So the floor is open for officer nominations. We need a chairman, vice chair, and secretary. By convention, we have normally used John as our secretary, and John has agreed to continue in that position for a time being, because time.
Motion for Ed Stuckey to be chairman.
All right, we have a nomination of myself for chairman.
Nomination cease. Second.
All right. Do we want to? All right, we'll cover the vice chairman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I guess I still have the chair. Need a vice chair.
David Caldwell, be vice chair. Second.
All right, we have a nomination and a second.
Nominate Reed.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
David, welcome aboard for another year. Let's go through the formality of voting on John for the time being as secretary, or well, such time as he is no longer available for secretary.
There are two secretaries. Doug is a co-secretary with me, and I'll be retiring at the end of December. So I would request that if you do wish my services, that you do mine as term limited to the end of December.
Okay.
And I want to introduce Thomas Lloyd, who is replacing Roger and will be replacing quite a few other functions. He's actually a certified planner. Doug and I are just certifiable, but he has actually been certified as a planner. And he, I think, will take over quite a bit of the planning function, and at a later date will probably be appropriate for him to be a secretary also, so you'll have two secretaries to sign plats. So if you would, make the nomination, Doug and myself, mine limited to the end of December.
All right, do I have a motion to
Make that motion.
We have a motion and a second to nominate John as secretary through until he retires, and as co-secretary as well, Doug. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you, sir.
All right, site plan, 4427 Highway 411 South, Family Commercial Enterprise Residence and Machine Shop.
You have a memo on this. It took me a while to get to the point of how I would handle this, because this is a little bit out of the ordinary. This is in a commercial zone, and commercial zone allows as a use permitted those uses that are listed as permitted and permitted as special exception in the R1 zone. The R1 zone allows family commercial enterprise as a special exception. So this is actually allowed as a permitted use in the C commercial zone. Really wasn't too sure how much of a site plan requirement would be placed on this. If it were just in the R1 zone, it would be a simple site plan as you see in your packet. If it were in the commercial zone as a standalone machine shop, it would be a full-blown site plan with lighting plans and a lot of other things involved. So I took the route of calling this still a family commercial enterprise. The person who is going to own the property is going to live on it and going to have his own operation machine shop in that building. So I'm applying those standards as a family commercial enterprise. You see the site plan attached. The only issues I have with that is that he doesn't have the approvals for the septic, but that can come at the building permit stage. They still need a building permit for this. And the steepness of the driveway is a little bit, it's getting close to 18 to 20%, and it's shown as gravel. I'm not sure that that is a good situation for gravel on that steep of a slope, particularly for a commercial enterprise. So with that, I'll leave it to your discretion as to how you want to handle this. Excuse me. Smoke these last few days has really gotten to me.
I see he's got proposed concrete done at the entrance.
He does, yes.
Any other comments or questions?
Is anybody here to represent that? He said he might send somebody. He's from out of state, and so was not able to be here tonight, the proponent.
Since it's just a single owner, one lot, yes.
I know we're concerned about the grade of the driveway, but since it's just one lot, one residence or business, that shouldn't cause any problem, should it?
Well, I think any wash of gravel is going to be taken care of before it actually gets to the highway. That would be my main concern. I think it'll fall off to the drainage at the bottom. And he does have part of it concrete. It might be a good idea to at least have, what is our requirement, the paving of an entrance to a 30 feet? At least 30 feet in concrete at the entrance. I don't think there's a dimension there.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. French, make a motion.
Commissioner French, did you play?
I move to approve the
Okay, do you want to?
pending, are there any outstanding?
Just the standard requirement for septic approval with the building permit.
Do you want to include in that 30-foot?
Yeah, can we do that, including
Sure.
that the 30-foot concrete section? Okay,
Well, that's shown on the site plan. You might want to make it at least 30 feet.
okay, at least 30.
All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to approve the site plan with the caveat of 30-foot at minimum of proposed concrete at the entrance to the highway. Any other comments or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Site plan is approved. Site plan for poolside cabins at 4901 Montville Road by Harmony Family Center.
Okay, this is a very generalized site plan because it's in the middle of a very large property. Most of that property is already under conservation easement. This is an existing recreational type of situation. It used to be Camp Montvale. It's been taken over by Harmony Family Center, and they want to put 2 cabins there for temporary residence. It does meet all the setbacks because it's basically in the middle of a very big piece of property.
Any comments or questions?
So it is in the Land Conservancy, does that not violate what they require?
No, they've reserved area out for the camp itself. It's the remaining area around it that's in the Conservancy. I think there are actually also a few other 5-acre tracts that are excluded from the Conservancy.
I have a motion and a second to approve the site plan for the poolside cabins at 4901 Montville Road. Any further discussion or comments? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Site plan is approved. Final plats, major subdivisions, Ogalla Drive, final road plat by Lowell Woods. Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a proposed private road to be converted to a county road. Mr. Woods is here tonight in case anybody has any questions. I'd like to go back through the process first, though, because we don't do this very often. Since I've been here, we've actually attempted to do it, I think, twice. Back about 15 years ago, I remember trying to write a procedure on converting a private road to county road. There's different ways you can do it in the county if it predates 1978, but in the case where it's built after that, the procedure has changed drastically, where it's basically all the costs to convert the road are borne by the owner or the developer. So the first time I wrote the procedures, nothing really ever happened. And then a couple of years ago, Mr. Woods started talking about this idea, so we had to come up with a set of internal procedures. And I worked with Jeff Hatcher, and we finally put this 5-step process together. And the reason I wanted to go through these processes again is because we're not, even with final plat, we're not through the process. Step number 1 was the preliminary road plat and additional items. Now that was the engineering, the preliminary soil survey work, and the idea that any other properties along the road might have lot line changes and so forth. So we discussed all that. We had all the engineering came in and the surveying, we reviewed that. And then we had a pre-construction meeting. Now that's step 2, the after preliminary road plat. And that's when we met with the owner and the road builder. We sat down, we discussed every nuance of the engineering plans, and then let them go to work. Once that had occurred, and that had occurred over the course of several months, the surveyor supplies us with step 3, that's where we're at now, submit final plat, final road plat to the Planning Commission. And that's where we're at, and that's what you see on item C1. The actual road you see is shown within the right-of-way. It's not in the center of the right-of-way, but this is pretty much acceptable. That's pretty much where the gravel road was that they improved to a paved county road. And Jeff Hatcher's here if you have any questions for him, but this road does meet all of the standards that we specified and meets with their engineering. We're not requiring any as-builts at this time because the road plan meets up with the design plan. And we won't require any additional. There are 2 other plats, there's 2 other affected properties, and there are 2 additional plats that I have with me tonight. Those will be recorded before the road plat, so I just want to be really clear. So, having said that, I'm going to read the outstanding items to be completed and explain the rest of the process. Number 1 is modifications to right-of-way on final plat from surveyor and certifications on the final plat. Mr. Truelove is here tonight, and he has the final plats, and he's getting the final signatures, and then we'll take care of the 2 lot line adjustments prior to that. Number 2, step 4 in the process is the owners to record the final plat at the Register of Deeds office. So after we approve the plat, it'll be the owner's responsibility to record that plat. And then step number 5, which is item 3, the Highway Department will take the road plat to the County Commission for acceptance of the road for county maintenance. And I would recommend that if you in your motion that you include those final 2 steps, because they are critical to getting the road taken into maintenance.
Any questions or comments? Commissioner McClung?
The County Highway Department's gonna get it totally approved before the map's recorded. You're not gonna record the map before they approve it though, are you?
They've approved the road,
They've approved the road, okay.
and they're preparing to sign the final plat right now.
And you mentioned 2 other plats are they administrative plats or something?
They're lot line adjustments so that the right-of-way is what we require.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Move to approve, including completion of step 4 and step 5. Okay. Who was, Tom was second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The road plat is approved for continuation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If Mr. Woods, if you'd wait till after the next item, and I'll meet you out in the hall, we'll discuss these items. Miscellaneous item number 1 is the Savigny property off Disco Loop Road by Renee Savigny. This is the request for variance for the common driveway slope that we discussed last month. There was some, well, obviously there was concern on the slope. It was way over the slope that we allow, and some of the planning commissioners had expressed an interest in going to look at the driveway. Mr. Savigny did come in and is considering some other options at this time. So I'm simply recommending that we remove the item without prejudice.
Okay.
Or deny the plat without prejudice. That would probably be better.
All right, Commissioner McClung.
I did drive this, and it doesn't seem that bad at all. It really, I didn't see a problem with it at all. It's not, actually not even steeper than going up to Broadway from right here. But if that's,
All right,
we gotta wait, I guess.
Okay. We have a motion to remove the item from the agenda without prejudice. Do I have a second? Second. Okay. Any further discussion?
I was like Bruce, I did drive it also and didn't see a problem with the steepness. The problem I had was I got a little old compact Buick, and it was all I could do to get up that driveway. I can't imagine. I don't mean as far as driving. I'm talking about the width of the driveway is what I had the problem with.
Well, so many leaves on it today, you couldn't tell what the driveway was almost, but.
Okay. We have a motion to remove the item. A motion and a second. All in favor signify.
I got another question.
Okay.
If removing it doesn't keep him from coming back though, does it?
No, that's the without prejudice part.
Well, let's get it clarified. Did he request it be removed?
Yeah, he said that he wasn't prepared to take any action on it right now. He's going to consider some other options first.
Well, if you could make that a motion to deny, just to make it definitive. Do we have something in writing from him?
No, but I can probably get something.
Okay. We have a 60-day limit on approval. If you just remove it from the agenda, it might kick in technically. So if you could deny it without prejudice to resubmittal, I think that would be a little bit more appropriate. That would clear it from the agenda.
Okay. All right. Motion. Do I have a second? Second. All right. The motion has been amended. Motion and second to deny without prejudice for removal from the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
We'll take care of it.
Yeah.
John, long range.
Okay, this is related to the first item on the family commercial enterprise on the Highway 411 South. I had difficulty figuring out what to do and what to apply on that, and when there's that much difficulty, it just behooves us to make it a little bit clearer so when it comes up again, we can address it a little bit more forthrightly. I've given you the analysis with highlights about the sections that are most appropriate to look at. It's the family commercial enterprise. It rolls over into the RAC zone as a use permitted, and it's the application of the site plan requirements that is the most perplexing. What I've proposed is on the last page. Should have put it up front for it a bit easier to to find. And this is to clarify acceptable uses, site plan requirements, and design standards to family home enterprise uses in the RAC zone. And I recommend the following: that section 9.10A for the RAC Rural Arterial District be amended to read, and the highlighted portions are what would be added, with any related commercial uses subject to site plan and design standards in section 7.2 for those that are permitted as reference to the R1 zone, and standalone uses not associated with a residential use family commercial enterprise as listed in section 7.10C and subject to full site plan requirements and commercial design standards in section 7.2 and 7.15. So if it comes in as a family commercial enterprise, you have the site plan light because it's going to be a residential use primarily, excuse me, primarily. And if it comes in as a standalone commercial use, then it has a full-blown site plan requirement.
Okay, so if I'm understanding what you're saying, in this particular case, even though it was going into commercial, it would still revert to the residential site plan, family commercial.
If it is actually a bona fide family commercial enterprise, which means the owner-operator lives on the premises, then it would be counted as a predominantly residential use and have a lighter site plan requirement. If it comes in just as a standalone use, in other words, the use is listed already there, comes in as a standalone use like a machine shop, it would be judged as a full-blown commercial enterprise.
Everybody understand what John is suggesting? It's just to clarify because it really didn't come to light until this particular request came in. So we're not really changing anything, it's just to clarify the application of site plan standards.
Still taxed as a commercial property, right?
That's going to be a good question for the assessor to figure out because they are actually living there and it's partly residential. I don't know how they will tax it. I would presume that it would have some commercial aspect to it, but I don't know what proportion.
A lot of times the assessor will do a split assessment. We'll assess part of the residential, part of the commercial, if that's what's being true use for you.
Any further discussion?
The appropriate action, if you think that this is appropriate, is to recommend for approval to the County Commission.
Yeah, County Commission has to approve zoning. Since this is a change to the zoning regulations, it would go to the County Commission.
Motion to send it to the county commission as John proposed.
You say you're making a motion? Okay, we have a motion. We have a second to send the John's recommended wording onto the County Commission for approval by the County Commission, which there'll have to be a public hearing.
Right.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Unless there's any further business, we have public input on items not on the agenda. We have training afterwards tonight. Let me remind you that the December meeting is December 19th. So we will, because of where that Thursday falls in the holiday week.
Yeah, and do see me for your training requirements. Some of you called me up. Some of you have your hours and you'll have the property rights hour after tonight, but some of you are woefully deficient. We'll need to come by my office and get some training.
How long is this in Knoxville?
I think it's an hour and a half, but I've seen another notice on it, and I think it goes for an hour and a half.
Yeah, there was a training memo on your desk tonight for another training opportunity. Bruce, did you have something? Your light's on. All right, then we are adjourned. We will adjourn to room 433 for training on property rights. Thank you.